The South China Sea is the strategic heart of Southeast Asia, vital for global trade and rich in oil, gas, and fisheries. For bordering nations, it's a lifeline and a symbol of sovereignty, but also a flashpoint for conflict. China's sweeping nine-line claim and militarization of artificial islands have turned shared waters into a zone of confrontation. The Philippines and Indonesia, both archipelagic states, face the same rising power but have chosen starkly different responses. Manila opts for bold, public defiance. Jakarta prefers quiet diplomacy and back-channel negotiations. Their choices are shaping not just their own destinies, but the future of the South China Sea and the rules of engagement in the Indo-Pacific. Under President Marcos Jr., the Philippines has shifted to a policy of assertive transparency, exposing every Chinese incursion in its waters. Manila documents and publicizes each confrontation, especially at flashpoints like Second Thomas Shoal, where Filipino Marines hold out on the BRP Sierra Madre. Incidents, like Chinese Coast Guard water cannon attacks and dangerous collisions, are filmed and shared globally, turning maritime standoffs into international headlines. By embedding journalists and releasing dramatic footage, the Philippines reframes itself from victim to proactive defender. This strategy puts China on the defensive, forcing Beijing to answer for its actions before a global audience. Assertive transparency has become Manila's most potent weapon, rallying international support and spotlighting China's aggressive tactics. The world now sees the South China Sea not as a distant dispute, but as a front line for international law. The Philippines' campaign is anchored in the 2016 Hague ruling, which invalidated China's nine-line under international law. Manila wields this legal victory as both shield and sword, framing itself as a defender of the rules-based order. By inviting journalists on patrols, the government humanizes the conflict and builds global sympathy. The goal: rally international support and isolate China diplomatically, making its aggression costly. At home, these stories foster national pride and unity, turning maritime defense into a patriotic cause. The constant media spotlight gives the government political space to stand firm, even at economic risk. Lawfare and public exposure have transformed a regional dispute into a global test of international norms. The Philippines' approach is as much about shaping perceptions as it is about defending territory. Indonesia, Southeast Asia's largest nation, takes a starkly different approach: quiet diplomacy and strategic silence. Officially, Jakarta claims neutrality, but China's nine-line overlaps with Indonesia's EEZ near the Natuna Islands. When Chinese vessels intrude, Indonesian patrols respond, but incidents are handled discreetly, away from the media. Jakarta prefers back-channel talks and private protests, aiming to resolve disputes without public escalation. This approach reflects Indonesia's doctrine of free and active foreign policy: non-aligned, independent, and cautious. Public confrontation is avoided to prevent inflaming nationalism or jeopardizing broader relations with China. For Indonesia, stability and autonomy outweigh the risks of public confrontation. Quiet diplomacy is seen as the best way to protect national interest without being drawn into great power rivalry. Indonesia's silence is also driven by economic pragmatism. China is its largest trading partner and a key investor. Projects like the Jakarta-Bandung high-speed rail and industrial parks are fueled by Chinese capital. Leaders fear that open confrontation could trigger economic retaliation, threatening growth and development goals. Both outgoing President Jokowi and President-elect Prabowo prioritize economic ties over maritime disputes. Jakarta tolerates some friction at sea to safeguard billions in trade and investment. The government's calculation economic benefits outweigh the strategic costs of occasional Chinese incursions. It's a delicate balance. Defend maritime rights quietly, but never at the expense of national prosperity. Security alliances further shape these divergent strategies. The Philippines, a U.S. treaty ally, relies on the Mutual Defense Treaty for a security backstop, emboldening its stance against China. Expanded U.S. access to Philippine bases and joint patrols send a strong deterrent signal to Beijing. This alliance gives Manila the confidence to confront China openly. Indonesia, by contrast, is staunchly non-aligned, shunning formal alliances to preserve autonomy. Without a security guarantor, Jakarta avoids direct confrontation, relying on its own capabilities and diplomacy. Its leaders prioritize stability and self-reliance, modernizing their military but steering clear of entangling commitments. For Indonesia, quiet diplomacy is not just a choice. It's a necessity, shaped by its independent security posture. The Philippines' assertive transparency has internationalized the South China Sea dispute, rallying allies and putting China's actions under global scrutiny. This boldness energizes security cooperation but also risks dangerous escalation and division within ASEAN. Constant standoffs raise the specter of conflict that could draw in the US and China. Indonesia's quiet diplomacy preserves regional stability and economic ties, but critics say it enables China's expansionism. Jakarta's silence may undermine international law and embolden further incursions. The region faces a dilemma: confront and risk conflict, or accommodate and risk losing sovereignty. The choices of Manila and Jakarta will shape not only their futures, but the geopolitical order of the Indo-Pacific. As the world watches, the fate of the South China Sea and the rules that govern it hangs in the balance. The contest between assertive transparency and quiet diplomacy is defining Southeast Asia's future.